So here we are in the mill room at Lagavulin. So one of the first things and one of the key ingredients obviously for making malt whisky is the malt. So first thing that happens here is the malt is delivered to us up from Portela Maltings. So this is actually processed for us here on the island. The barley actually comes in by boat to Islay still, which has always been the traditional way. The barley is taken to the maltings, and that is where one of the key important characteristics of Lagavulin has started to be created, and it's all to do with the peaty level that is imparted into that malt during the malting process. We have a key level of smokiness that we want in that malt, and that is going to be unique for Lagavulin. So obviously it's really noisy in here, and that's because obviously the mill is working just now. Once the malt we select for grinding is picked, it's actually taken through elevators up above us here. It will then go through a process called dressing. Because it might have stones in it, bits and pieces in amongst that barley that we don't want, we actually shake it all out to make sure that it's only the malt that's coming down. And that malt then is coming down, and it's coming down at 40 kilos a time, what we call a count. That count's coming in here, and then it's going to be slowly ground through this mill. The speed that we do that at is incredibly important, because this ultimately is the bit of kit that's going to give us the most extraction. It's going to give us all the efficiency that we need. If we don't get it right here, it doesn't really matter what we do later on in the process. We're not going to get the optimum alcohol out of the malt. So how we do this process, how we set the rollers. So inside here you've got a set of rollers at the top and a set of rollers at the bottom. The top rollers are going to crush the outside, the husk, and then the second set are going to grind it to the level that we want. And it's absolutely important that we're getting that ground properly. Traditionally we would say we want the grits, the central part, all the starches to be about 70%. We're wanting the husk to be about 20%, and then about 10% flour being created. It's important later on in our mash tun that we have this right, because if we have too little or too much of any one of these parts, it'll either speed up or slow down the extraction process in the mash tun, and we're not going to get all those sugars out that we need.
Okay, we're standing in the mill room now. Malted barley comes from the storage bins. It is passed into a dresser, a cleaner, which is right up at the top of this building, drops through a weighing machine and then into the mill itself. The total function of the mill is to open up the malted barley, because in the next process we're going to drain water through it to extract the fermentable sugars. And it's very important that the grist coming from the mill is of the right consistency where you can drain water through it to efficiently extract the sugars. If you grind it too finely, then you run into problems. It goes like porridge and you can't drain any water through it. If you don't grind it finely enough, then the water will just run through it and not extract any sugars. And to set up the mill properly, we have this little piece of equipment here. And this is a sample box, known as a Schugel box in the industry in Scotland. And what we do is we take 100 grams of grist, put it into the top here, shake it all about, and then we weigh the component parts. The top part of the box holds the outside of the barley. The middle section will hold the middle parts, and the bottom will hold the flour. And we should have about 20% of the husks, the outer part. We should have 70% of the middles, 10% of flour, i.e. 20 grams, 70 grams, and 10 grams. And every distillery in Scotland, no matter how modern, has got one of these boxes.